Hello Divination and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to show you step by step how to create a dynamic job opening post template with Divi's theme builder and ACF. This is the final result we're aiming to achieve. So without wasting a lot of time, let's dive in and let's get started. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do here is to add a post category. So we're going to come over here to posts and you can see we have categories. So I'm going to click here on categories and add my first category. So my first category here is going to be called job opening and just add the slug as well. And this one here is going to be our parent. So I'm going to click here and add to category. All right. So now we need to add a few more. So we're going to add design, development and marketing. So I'm just going to come over here, add my design category, and this needs to be a child of job opening. Okay, this is very important. Now I'm going to click on add to category. All right, so to make sure that you have this as the child, you will see this line over here. So you want to go ahead and add development and marketing. So now that we've installed all our categories, the next step now is to install advanced custom fields. So to do that, we're going to come over here to plugins, click on add new. So we're going to search for it and here it is. So this is the one that we need. So we're going to go ahead and install now and then activate it. So the next step now is to set up the fields. So I'm going to come over here now to custom fields, and this is the entry you get after you install ACF. So I'm going to add a new field. So I'm going to click on add new. Right. So our field group here is going to be called job opening. And then over here, we need to make sure post type is equal to post. And then we also need to add another one. And this time it's post category. So we're going to select post category is equal to job opening. And then you want to hit publish. So now that we've added this, the next step now is to add our fields. So to add our fields, we're going to come over here and click on add field. And our field label here is going to be called responsibilities. And that's going to be our field name. Now the field type is going to be text area. So let's make sure we select text area here. And pretty much that's all we need to do here. So I am going to update this and add another one. So I'm going to click here on add field. And this one here is going to be called required experience. And this time this is going to be a WYSIWYG editor. So I'm going to search for my WYSIWYG editor. And pretty much that's what I need. Click on update, move on to the next one, click add new. Now this one here is going to be required skills. So again, we're going to come over here, click on add new. Set my required fields in here, required skills, sorry. And this also needs to be a WYSIWYG editor. And I am going to hit update. Next, we're going to add bonus qualifications. So let's go ahead and add it by clicking here on this plus button. So the process of adding these here is pretty straightforward. We just need to go in and add them. Now, again, this one here is going to be a WYSIWYG editor. So let's go ahead and add that and update. Moving on to the next one, I'm going to click on add new. And this one here is going to be called location. So let's go ahead and add that. And in here, the field name also needs to be location and the field type is going to be text. Hit update, add new field. Now this one here is going to be the job type. So let's go ahead and add that. So I'm going to click here on add new. Job type, and this time the field type is going to be a checkbox. So I'm going to come over here and look for a checkbox, and here it is. Great. So this is all you have to do. You have to keep on adding these field types. So let's add another one. Now this one is going to be called apply redirect. So we're going to go in and add the field label, field name, and this time the field type here is going to be URL. And here it is. Okay, so that's looking good. I'm going to hit update. So now that I have everything all set, the next step now is to add a new blog post. So I'm going to come over here to posts and click on add new. Now here we can give this post a title. So this one here is going to be called web developer. So let me just get this out of the way for now. So this one here, we're going to name it web developer or WordPress developer. We are going to use the default editor for this and paste the content in here. Now over here to the right, we can click here on document and then choose our categories. So you can see now those categories that we created earlier on are now showing, and we want this to show on the job opening and also on development. Now remember those custom fields that we created earlier on, now they're showing below my post, and I can go in now and add all my descriptions. So I'm just going to add a bit of text in here, and we also need to add the required experience. Now, as you can see, I'm just using my lorem text. I'm not really going to spend a lot of time typing in here. So I'm just going to go in and add my text like that. So that's going to be my requirements. And then moving on, I also need to add required skills. And for the required skills, again, I'm just going to add pretty much this. But in this case, this could be PHP, MySQL, HTML, CSS, and so on. And then next, we're going to come over here to bonus qualification. Again, I'm going to add the same stuff. But in your case, you can add whatever bonus qualifications you want to add on there. Next, over here on the location, I can add my location. So let's say it's London. I can just add it in here like that. And then apply redirect. This is where you can add your URL. So let's say in this case, we want the URL to be elegant themes. I can just copy this. And then over here, I'm just going to paste the apply redirect. Okay, so pretty much that's my information that I need for this post. The next step now is to just publish it. And I'm going to hit publish one more time. So let me show you something quickly here. If we open this now in a new tab, this will not show those fields that we just created. So this is where now we need to create a template, which is going to have all our information. So let's go ahead and create our template. So to do that, I am just going to go back over here to WordPress, and we're going to come all the way down here to Divi and then click on theme builder. So we're just going to get rid of this one here. This was from a previous tutorial. So we're going to click add new, and then we're going to come over here and choose posts in specific categories. So this is where we're going to choose our template from. So over here, you can see we have job opening. So this is the one that we're going to go for because this is the parent one. So I'm going to go ahead and select it and create template. Now let's start creating the template body. So I'm going to come over here, build custom body. So for this example, we're going to build everything from scratch. So I'm going to click here on start building. And I'm just going to close this for now and then come over here to my section settings. So over here on my section settings, the first thing I need to do is to add my background colors. So I'm going to click here on the gradient. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and add my first color. And by the way, if you want to use the exact same colors as I am using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. Okay, so I'm going to add my second color here and I'm going to paste it. And then next, I'm going to come over here to my gradient and make sure it's set to linear. And for the direction, I'm going to set it at 126. Next, we're going to come over here to design, dividers, and we're going to go to the bottom divider. And the style we're going to go with is this style here. So I'm going to select it. And now I need to add my divider height. So I'm going to come over here and set this to 8VW. And then for the divider arrangement, I'm going to set this underneath the section content. So now that we have that all set, the next step now is to add bottom padding. So let's head over to spacing by scrolling down a little bit, and we're going to add our bottom padding over here, and it's going to be 400 pixels. All right, so pretty much that's all we need to do. I'm going to save this, and then now I can add my column structure. So I'm going to go with 3 equal columns. And in the first column here, I'm going to add a blurb. So I'm going to search for it and select it. Okay, great. So now that I have this, the title here is going to be location. And then over here, I'm going to click here and choose location. But notice that I'm choosing this from the ACF job opening. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my location here. I'm going to save that. And then next, I'm going to come over here to image and icon and activate my icon like that. And then I'm going to choose the icon that works with location. So I'm going to keep scrolling here until I find a pin, and here it is. Now back over here, I just want to make sure that there's nothing over here in my content. And I also need to just come over here and make sure that everything is all set, and it is. Okay, so moving on. Next, I'm going to go into my icon settings. So I'm going to come over here to image and icon and set my color to white. And then for the icon placement, I'm going to place this to the left. And then I'm going to activate use icon font size and set this to 25. Now it's time to stylize my text. So this is my title text. And if you want to get to this quickly, you can just click on this brush tool and this will take you to the heading. So right now, as it looks, it's set to heading 4. So I am going to go in now and choose my font. And the font I'm going to use for this is Lato. So I'm going to select it. And also making sure that it's set to white. And I also need to set my text size. So I'm going to go in here and set my size to 1.4 rem. All right, so that's looking great. Now, if you wanted to animate this, you could animate it, but you know what? We're going to remove all animations from here. So I'm going to come over here and just make sure my animation is set to no animation and then save. Next, I'm just going to clone this a few times. So I'm going to come over here and copy the module and just paste it over here. So, you know, you only need to duplicate it once and add it to column 2. Now we're going to go to this one here and change the settings. So I'm going to come over here and this one here says location. So we want to delete that and add a different title to this. So this one here is going to be called job type. So making sure I'm under ACF, I'm going to choose job type. I'm going to save that. And then I'm also going to change the icon by coming over here. And this time I'm going to look for a briefcase. So I'm going to select it and then save. Next on column 3, I'm going to add a button. So I'm going to search for it and select it. So here our text is just going to say apply now. Now over here on the link, I can click here on use dynamic content. And remember in our ACF, we had apply redirect created. So I'm going to select this one here and then the button link target. We're going to open this in a new tab because that is always much easier. Next, I'm going to come over here to design alignment. And for my button alignment, I'm going to align this to the right. And now it's time to stylize the button. So we're going to start off by going into button and then activating use custom styles for button. So with that set, the next step now is to add my button text color. So I'm going to click on this eyedropper tool and paste my color like that. And then next we're going to add our button background color and this is going to be white. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. So now you can see we have a white background. Next, as I'm looking at that, we have a border. So ideally we don't need a border for that. So I'm going to remove my border. Next, I'm going to add my button border radius and this is going to be 100 pixels. And for my font style, I'm going to set this to uppercase and let's change my button font here to Montserrat and here it is. But in your case, you may need to search for it first in order for you to locate it. All right, so now that I have that, I can see here that my button text size is way too big. So I just need to go back over here and fix that by setting this to 1 rem. Next, we're going to add a bit of padding to our button. So I'm going to scroll down here until I go to spacing. And this is where we want to add our top padding of 15 pixels. And in fact, you know what? We might as well apply the same size to the bottom. And then for the left and the right, we're going to set this to 50. And again, we're going to activate this chain to apply the same value to both sides. All right, so now we have our button all set. We're going to save and add another row. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and the row we need to add is a single column. And we are going to add a text module. So I'm going to search for it and select it. So here we're also going to use dynamic content. So I'm going to click here on dynamic and we are going to select our post or archive title. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. Now we also need to make sure this is rendered to heading 1. So let's go back in here and before we need to add this tag. And then for the after, we also need to add the closing tag. So I'm going to go ahead and add it over here and save. Now we need to go in and stylize this text by coming over here to design, clicking here on the brush tool. And as you can see, I'm here on heading 1. Now I'm going to choose Montserrat. We're going to make sure this is heavy. And then we're going to set the color here to white. Now it's time to set our size for our headings. So I'm going to scroll down a little bit and here we're going to set this to 8 rem. Now, while we're here, we might as well set our sizes for the tablet and the phone. So here we're going to set this to 4 rem. And for the phone, it's going to be 2.5 rem. Okay, so back over here to my desktop tab, we're going to save this. And it's time now to add my divider module. So I'm going to click on this plus button and search for divider and select it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do here is to make sure the divider is set to show divider. That's very important. And then we're going to come over here to design, line, and set our line color to white. Now let's set our divider weight by coming over here to sizing. And here we're going to set this to 8 pixels. And for the width, it's going to be 30%. And make sure you set it to percent. And for the module alignment, it's going to be left as well. And then we're going to save. Next, we're going to add a new section. So we're going to click here on this plus button, click on regular. Now, before we add anything in here, I'm just going to go in and go to my section settings. So what I'm going to do here is to go to design, spacing, and we are going to add a top padding of 0. We're going to save this. And then we're going to add our column structure, and this is going to be a single column. So before we add any modules, we're going to close this and go into our row settings. And we also need to do the same here. We're going to come into the design tab and remove any padding on the top and then save. All right. So the next step now is to add our post content module to the column. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and search for post content. So I'm going to select it. And we need to make sure that the background here is set to white. So let's go in and click on this gear icon. Background, set this to white. Now let's go into the text settings. I'm going to click here on design, text, and we're going to set this to railway. So I'm going to search for it. And for my text size, I'm going to set this to 1.1 rem. And for my text line height, I'm going to set this to 2.1. Now let's head over here to spacing. So over here, we're going to add a margin of -300 pixels because we want this design to go into this bottom divider here. So I'm going to set this to -300, and now you can see everything has been pushed up. Now the next step now is to add my padding. So I'm going to go in and add my padding, and this is going to be 100 both to the top and the bottom, and also left and right. So this is going to allow us to have a balanced design. Next, I'm going to add some rounded corners here because it looks like everything is way too sharp. So I'm going to come over here and we're going to set this to 20 pixels, making sure the chain is activated. All our sides here are going to have the 20 pixel. All right, so that's looking great. The next step now is to add a box shadow. So let's scroll down further to box shadow, and we're going to choose our style. And now you can see here, everything looks really, really nice, but we still need to make further adjustments. So we're going to go to blur strength and set this to 50. And for our box shadow, it's a bit too much. So let's go in and change that. So I'm going to click here on this eyedropper tool and paste my values between the brackets like that. Now this looks much, much better. It's not too harsh, so it's just the right size. Okay, so this is looking great. I'm going to save this, and then we're going to continue on and add another row. So I'm going to click here on this plus button. It's going to be a single column. We're going to add a text module. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. Right, so here we're going to add our text, which says required experience. We're going to set this to heading 2. Now let's stylize the text by coming over here to the design tab, heading text, heading 2. And we're going to change this to Montserrat. So I'm not sure I don't have it here, but anyway, we can always search for it. So here it is. Right, so moving on, I need to set my weight to heavy. And we also need to adjust our colors here. So I can either go to my recent colors, and we're going to go with, in fact, that's not our recent color. So let me go in and paste my color in here. So that's the one I want. And then we also need to set our size. So I'm going to set this to 1.5 rem. So pretty much that's all we need to do here. I'm going to save. And then the next step is to add a divider to this. So I'm going to click here, and we are going to add our divider module. Now, as you can see, I can't go in and add my divider. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my layers. So I'm going to come over here. So my layers will make it easy for me to access any parts of my site that I cannot access. So I'm going to come over here to this row, and I know it's the second row, and here's my text. And now I can click on this plus button and add my divider like that. Okay, great. So now that I have my divider added, in fact, here it is, I can now go in and customize this by coming over here to design line. So first of all, I'm going to add my color. and notice that it's the same color as my text. And then now I can go to sizing. So my weight is going to be 6 and my maximum width is going to be 80 pixels. So I'm going to come over here and set it to 80 pixels. So with that all set, I am going to save this. And the next step now is to add another text module to column 2. So I'm going to click here on this plus button and search for my text module and select it. We're going to come over here to dynamic content. And what we're looking for here is the required experience. So I'm going to go all the way down here until I find ACF, and then I'm going to select required experience. I'm going to enable raw HTML and then save. Next, I'm going to come over here to design, and this is where we're going to change our font. So I'm going to go over here, and this is going to be railway. And then we're going to set our size to 1.1 rem. All right, so the next part is to come over here to design, text, and we need to go to unordered list. So here on unordered list, we also need to stylize this. So first of all, our line height needs to be 2.3 em. So I'm going to set it here. Now we're going to go into spacing and make further adjustments. So over here, we're going to add a top and bottom padding of 50 pixels. So I'm going to add it by activating my chain and also adding it over here and activating my chain. So my values now are going to be applied pretty much across all the sides. Next, we're going to come over here to border and we're going to set this to 20 pixels. And remember, we used this value earlier on in our design. So all our corners now are going to have 20 pixels. And then next, we're going to also have our box shadow so that we can see this part here. So I'm going to come all the way down here, go to box shadow, choose my style, and then for my box shadow blur strength, I'm going to set this to 50, and then I'm going to also change my color here. So I'm going to go in here and add my color between the brackets. And by the way, if you want to use the exact same colors as I'm using throughout this tutorial, I will leave a link to the post in the show notes below. All right, so pretty much that's all I need to do here. I'm going to save. And then next, we also need to add another row. So I'm going to click on this plus button. And this time we're going to have 2 columns. So I'm going to go ahead and select that. And we're going to close this for now. The next step now is to pretty much clone these modules here and add them in these 2 columns. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to do multi-select. So I'm going to hold down the command key and select the items I need to clone. So now with all that selected, I'm going to hit Command C to copy and then just Command V to paste. And then I'm going to do the same over here like that. So now I can come over here now and change the content in this part. So this one here is required skills now. So let's save that. This one here is going to be required bonus. So I'm going to go in and add that. Now we need to go in and change the dynamic content in here. So I'm going to go back in by clicking on this gear icon. So here we have required experience. Ideally, this needs to be required skills. So we're going to delete this and then click here on dynamic content. And we need required skills. And just make sure enable raw HTML is selected. Save that and save one more time. We're going to do the same here. We're going to go in and click on this gear icon, and we need to delete what we have here so far. Now this one here is going to be a required bonus. So I'm going to click here on dynamic content, go all the way down here and bonus qualifications, enable raw HTML, save that and save one more time. All right, so pretty much we have put all our effort in creating this template. Let's see what it looks like. So I'm going to save this. And I'm just going to close out of this and save one more time. So remember, this is what our template looked like before we created it in our theme builder. So now if I refresh this, this is what it looks like. So we have London here as our location. There's our button here where we can click to apply. And we have all our content in place. So there you have it. Thank you all for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and do follow us on our social media platforms. By doing so, you'll be notified when we release new tutorials. Until next time, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.